Welcome back to Algebra with Miss Swartz. Today we are going to look at writing equations. This should be pretty simple because we've already talked about slope-intercept form quite a bit. So if we know what slope-intercept form is, again, y equals mx plus b, as I said, we will work with that a lot. We should easily be able to write equations from all different ways that will help us be able to write this in slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's get started. There are going to be a few different ways that they ask us to write an equation of the line. So the first way is pretty simple. It says, write an equation of the line with given slope and the y-intercept. Well, this makes our life super easy because we just want to put it in the form y equals mx plus b, and we're looking for m and b. Well, it just flat out tells us m and b. So slope is -3, so that's going to go where m is, and the y-intercept's at 1/2, so that would be the equation of our line given the slope and the y-intercept. So for b, again, it's the same thing. We're just looking for y equals mx plus b. We have the slope and the y-intercept. We're just going to plug those in. Okay, so if the slope is 0, 0 times x is going to be 0. So really what we have is y equals -2. And maybe you remember what that would look like on a graph. Hopefully you do. Okay, so that's one way. That's your first set of questions on your homework today. The next way is looking at a graph. Maybe I'll go to the next page here. Okay, so write an equation of a line given the graph. So for this one, we want to figure out our slope and our y-intercept to help us write y equals mx plus b for each of these as well. So where does it hit the y-axis? Well, it hits it at 0, right there. Okay, so then I want to figure out the slope. So I could pick any other point. Well, my slope, I go up 1, over 1. Okay, so my slope is 1. So I can write in my graph here, y equals x plus 0, or just y equals x would be sufficient because you don't really need to write plus 0. Okay, same thing for this graph. My slope and my y-intercept, it hits the y-axis at 5. And then I got to figure out my slope. So find another point, and then we can count up and over. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So my slope is going to be 2/3. It's going up from left to right, so it's positive. So y equals 2/3 x plus 5. Filled in my m and my b. So like I said, pretty simple there. We've done a lot of that. Now we're going to go on to a little bit more challenging. Okay, we're going to take 2 points and we're going to figure out the equation of the line. Okay, so we're going to have 2 points here that it gives us. So it says write an equation of the line that passes through the given points. Okay, remember, every time we're doing this, we need to find our slope and our y-intercept. Okay, so for our slope, we need to find our slope given these 2 points. Well, we learned how to do that by using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I can find my slope using that. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in what I know. This is my y2, -1 minus 5 over 0 minus -3. So this is going to be -6 over 3, which is going to give us -2. So our slope then is -2. Well, then we have to figure out our y-axis. Well, or our y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is wherever x equals 0. So here, x equals 0, so our y-intercept is going to be at -1. So if we plug in what we know for slope and y-intercept, this would be our equation. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for b. So we have x1, y1, x2, and y2. I'm going to plug that into this formula here. So we got negative 5 minus negative 5 over 8 minus 0. We're going to have 0 over 8, which is 0. So our slope is 0. And it hits the y-axis at negative 5 because 0, negative 5. So again, we would have y equals, well, 0 times x is 0, so y equals negative 5. So this would be our equation for that line. So whenever you're given 2 points, one of them will tell you what the y-intercept is. The other one, you will have to figure out the slope using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you'll have a few of those. And then the last part of your homework, you'll be working on writing a linear function. So it says write a linear function f with the values f of 0 equals 10 and f of 6 equals 34. So what this means is, remember, f of 0 is just our y, and f of 0 is our x, and 10 is our y, because when we plug 0 in, it turns out y for our function. So 0, 10 is our ordered pair. Same thing for f of 6 equals 34. You plugged in 0 into the, 6 into the function, and you churned out 34. So these are our 2 points, and we can go back to x1, y1, x2, y2, and use our formula to find our slope. We have 34 minus 10 over 6 minus 0. So we get 24 divided by 6 equals 4. So that's our slope. And then wherever x is 0, that's our y-intercept. So we have our y-intercept at 10. So we have 4x plus 10 as our equation. Okay, same concept here. So you would plug in 0 to the function and get 9. So we have 0, 9 as a point. And then plug into the function 8, and you would get 7. So again, we have x1, y1, x2, y2. You already know 9 is your y-intercept. So now we just got to figure out the slope. 7 minus 9 over 8 minus 0 would give us, well, plus a negative, negative 2 over 8, or negative 1/4. So we already said our y-intercept's at 9, so we have negative 1/4 x plus 9. There would be our equation. Alright, that's all we have for today. So your homework is on page 99 and 100 in your journal. I'm going to have you do the evens because there's a lot of problems there. So that gets you through all of the types of examples we did. Have a great day.